Marco Silva's Fulham have just completed the double over high-flying Nottingham Forest and move into 8th place, just 5 points from the top 4. In their last 15 games in all competitions, they've lost just 2 matches. It's clear that Fulham are having a brilliant season with the strong possibility of European football coming next year. But in this video, I intend to zoom in on their 2-1 win against Nottingham Forest because it was very impressive. I'll be looking at their tactical setup, how they play, but mostly in-game analysis, detailing how Marco Silva outdid Nuno Espírito Santo once again. Let's go. So, this was Fulham's lineup. The usual 4-2-3-1 as they came up against Forest's 3-5-2 shape, which was also unchanged from their 7-0 walloping of Brighton. Fulham at their best for me are a very fun side to watch, and this was probably one of their finest performances of the season. The balance amongst the team is really impressive, but shows very good recruitment, squad building, but also Marco Silva getting the very best out of his group of players. So with the ball, Fulham are fun, free-flowing, but also a strong transitional side. On the ball in the middle third, they set up in a 4-3-3 shape or a 4-1-2-3, however you want to look at it. Berg sits as the number 6. Lucic and Smith Rowe push up into the half spaces as the fullbacks maintain their position, hugging the absolute widths of the pitch, pushing very far wide. However, once they attack, the fullbacks certainly don't hang back. Well, at least one of them doesn't. They look for 2v1s. If the ball moves down the left, then Robinson pushes up, either bombing down the channels fairly wide or attacking between the fullback and the centre-back, as Castagne would hang back. On the other flank, you can imagine the same occurs. Castagne will push forward as Robinson hangs back, but I think with both sides, they differ with whoever plays on the wing. If it's Adama Traore, he obviously enjoys more width and taking it down the byline on his right foot, so Castagne will often support with an inside run. On the left, there's more fluidity, rotations, and a free-flowing pattern between Iwobi and Smith Rowe mostly, but Robinson does come into it too. Silva in the system and game gives Iwobi more freedom to come inside and roam a little in an attempt to combine with Smith Rowe very well. They both share a great on and off the field relationship, so they share a good understanding of each other and link up very well. They often rotate. Iwobi may sometimes be holding width or coming inside, or rotating so that Smith Rowe may be on the left at times too. But ultimately, it looks to unleash the creativity and spark between the two players and create chances for the likes of Raul Jimenez up top. With Iwobi drifting inside, it attracts the opposition fullback to follow him, so Robinson would make a blistering run forwards down the flank. Robinson can also partake in rotations amongst the two, as they genuinely look to overload the wider areas with at least 3 players, but sometimes 4. The striker, Raul Jimenez, helps them out a lot here, so he can drop deep as a free man and help create passing combos to break opponents down, but also in that initial build-up phase. Raul's physicality means he can drop deep, hold up the ball and link up, but his aerial advantages means they can go along more direct and look to move fast with more space, giving Fulham more flexibility in their approach play, which all works very well in fast transitions, which they love with all their quick players. Off the ball, they press in a 4-4-2/4-2-4, very similar to David Moyes' Everton. Smith and Raul Jimenez lead the press as Iwobi and Traore tuck into the 4-1 in their own half. When the opponents are deep, however, they push in a 4-2-4, looking to be aggressive on the wide players, but more cautious and laid back when the ball's with the centre-backs. Whenever a centre-back opens his body up to a pass out wide, then they immediately get ready to pounce as they look intense and difficult to play through. Now let's get into the game. In the last 5 encounters the two teams have shared, Fulham have netted 12 goals and got the better of the Reds 4 out of the 5 times, so this was going to be an interesting encounter. Immediately, within the first few minutes, it was end to end. These were 2 amazing, fast, counter-attacking sides, so this wasn't too much of a surprise. One of the main differences between the two sides was their pressing. Forest are obviously not as intense or aggressive as Fulham are. The aggressive pressing led to turnovers, an opportunity to move quick and get into good positions, but Forest, as we know, are very quick in defensive transition, so the legs were needed today for Fulham. In the opening minutes and throughout the game, Emil Smith-Rowe would choose when and when not to drop in deep a lot, which was effective. He could turn well and was a powerful ball carrier and could take it forward and lay it off to Iwobi or Robinson. On the ball, when they were maybe wasn't as intense and looking to be a little bit more careful with it, Sanderberg would often shift over to wherever the side the ball was circulating, looking to create that overload out wide to help Fulham make quick passes past Nottingham Forest and play through them. Off the ball, Fulham were very well structured. Lucic would deal with Anderson and Sanderberg would deal with Morgan Gibbs-White, which limited them incredibly long all game. The only time Forest could really counter this was either brilliance from the pair, direct passes, or rotations to puzzle the Fulham midfield men. The first 10 minutes after the fast start were controlled though, as both teams eased into the fair and looked fairly comfortable. However, this didn't last very long for one team. 14 minutes hit, Fulham already found a breakthrough. I love everything about this goal. It comes from patient build-up play, which I'll touch on more later, but Forest allow Calvin Bassey to carry the ball forward onto his left foot some yards, as Robinson combines with Iwobi, who executes a pass to Lucic, where he lays it off to Adama Traore, who has a real moment of quality. 1v1, Adama Traore bossed Nico Williams all game long. He beats him here with ease. Actually far too easily though, as he has the time and space to put a belter of a cross back post into Emil Smith-Rowe. 1-0 just like that. The cross was excellent. The direction, pace, height, everything is just perfect. Enya is half looking at Anthony Robertson, and Morato I don't think even knows he's there. It's naive from Forest defensively, but what impressed me mostly was the build-up play before. The ball goes into the back of the net at 14:16, but it enters play at 13:31, which isn't that long before scoring, but it was patient build-up play, but it wasn't slow. They knocked it round, gave a lot of players a touch of the ball, but did so with the ball moving fast. I think this perfectly showed that you don't need to be slow when being patient in breaking a team down. A certain Enzo Maresca's side could learn from that. From here though, Fulham looked to take the game by both hands. Their well structured and disciplined out of possession shape was looking fine and very comfortable and fluid on the ball. Direct balls to Jimenez worked well as he battled with Milenkovic, which gave Fulham players an easy outlet. And because the two were battling very strongly, a little bit scrappily, it meant the headers weren't always accurate, clean. So second balls were there for Smith-Rowe to pick up on an easy turnover. Off the ball, Silva's side were comfortable. They restricted Forest access to their creative midfield sparks, but kept winning their duels, and when they hit it long and direct, Berg, Lucic, Anderson and Bassey are all strong, physical players, so Forest were very limited. They needed to be braver in their passes to find the likes of Gibbs-White, Anderson and Alanga. Fulham seemingly had all the answers and tools to break Forest down. Adama was ruining Nico Williams. Robinson was making bursting runs, Smith-Rowe and Iwobi were combining brilliantly, and the Fulham centre-backs were pouncing on Anthony Elanga as soon as he tried to burst away in transition. They weren't going to make the same mistake that Brighton did in the 7-0 encounter. Tactically, I thought it was exceptional. Although it was a 4-1-2-3, Lucic would drop deep to give Berg support to help funnel the ball down the right, and Ra's movement for me was absolutely top and causing Forest non-stop problems. Whenever he dropped deep, the Forest centre-backs weren't exactly too sure where to follow. He had time and space with the ball. Here you can see Morato is very slow, late and hesitant to push up to Rao, which allows him to orchestrate a great move. The combinations here are brilliant as the movement of Robinson and Smith-Rowe pin back the Forest back line, giving acres of space to Rao before he can go back and join the penalty box himself, looking to get a header, giving Forest a bit of a nightmare in containing this Fulham attack. Another fine example with his movement was here with Castagne. Rao pulled Murillo away, which left open space for Timothy Castagne to drive in freely, leading to a 4v4 versus their back line. It was clearly effective as it was decomposing Forest's structure and defensive solidity. It was just far too easy sometimes, especially for Sanderberg Anderson and Bassi to carry the ball or pass the ball forward into their creative players as they were picking apart the midfield. Danilo was overwhelmed and he was struggling massively. In the 36th minute, however, a real moment of quality detached Fulham's lead going into half time. It was really unfortunate and definitely against the run of play. But a great goal though. Gibbs White finally gets the ball, manages to just keep it before sending a looping ball to the back of Chris Wood's boot. He physically bosses Robinson, cuts to his left and puts it away from Leno into the corner with a touch from Bassi to help. A real moment of quality, I reiterate. It was simply unreal from Chris Wood. But also, one of the two shots Forest had in the first 45. Fulham were extremely unlucky to be going into the dressing room with just a draw. They limited Forest incredibly well. Second half started and Nuno made a tweak. The midfield before was a 5-3-2 out of possession. Now it was a 5-2-1-2. It was clear that Forest were getting outdone in midfield and Nuno looked to put a stop to that, almost man-marking the Fulham midfielders directly. And they had a much better start to the half, but it wasn't much. The quick passing combos they normally pull off were just not happening and ended in Fulham counter-attacks. The attacks for Forest were still toothless and they weren't getting any closer to goal. Fulham weren't threatened at all, especially when they made it 2-1 in the 61st minute. A lovely corner delivery meets the head of Jimenez, who flicks it on perfectly, giving Bassi time to direct a header into the top corner. A deserved lead again. In the first half, Forest had just 35% possession and were dominated all over. In the second half, this drastically changed. They had 57% possession as Nuno changed to his usual shape again, taking Morato off for Callum Hudson-Odoi. The Reds shared a lot more of the ball again, but they lacked creativity or any real penetration. It was flat. Fulham was soaking in the pressure as Forest only got 6 shots away with just 1 on target. Fulham's defensive transition and solidity was one that Forest would have been proud of. The defensive resilience felt like it deserved a clean sheet to its name. In their 4-4-2 and a possession structure, they left 2 men up and ready to receive back the ball, with 8 men deep, which gave no way through for Nottingham Forest. But as Nuno's side became more and more urgent and desperate, more men were poured forward, which gave Fulham, with their fresh legs, an even greater chance in transition to seal up the game. But the 1 goal was enough because Forest had just 3 shots in the last 25 minutes, with just 1 after the 77th minute. That is simply incredible from Fulham. The players in Marco Silva managed the game incredibly well, and only Arsenal and Liverpool have conceded less XG versus Nottingham Forest than Marco Silva's side on Saturday. They did a real job on them as they were the only team to do the double on them this season so far. So full credit to Fulham, who if they maintain a good level of consistency, avoid injuries and win the games that they should be winning, I think they could be playing European football at Craven Cottage next season for sure. Thank you guys for watching today's video. If you did enjoy, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Do you think Fulham will get European football next season, or is it too early? And are there too many good teams in contention? Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.